Hello, so I know everybody likes a creepy story, the spooky videos I do are quite popular, people keep asking for more, so now I've actually got something I can talk about that's real, and hopefully you'll find it interesting. So if you watched the video earlier today, that should have been the spooky infrared footage. And what you hopefully could have made out in that, and if you read the description, there was a bit when I was walking down the path to test out the camo, then I saw a light and I thought it was somebody like lighting a cigarette or something, or a little torch, so then I walked back to the camera. And upon reviewing the footage later, there was somebody like kneeled down in the corner, like that, on a sort of bit of a bench, not saying anything, not doing anything, just totally in the dark. So that was very weird. So what I actually did was, get my torch, turn it on, and then walk down, shone it down there, and there was, a guy sitting there motionless on the bench, not unconscious or anything, but just, sitting there like that on the bench. So I said hello as I walked past. He didn't respond at all. When I came back a bit later, he was gone, so a bit weird. The other thing with that video was also another guy was walking towards me when I was on the path, so I filmed him very briefly, and obviously turned the camera off as he was getting closer. That's not all that clear on the footage, but you can just about make him out. And then he was basically muttering to himself and breathing really heavy, sort of like as he was walking down the path. So very odd. He didn't respond to me saying hello either, so that was strange. The other thing I filmed, and I can't work out what it was, is at the edge of a certain field there was basically like it looked like a figure moving back and forth in like a spotlight. And I can't work out what it was, because there's no trees there, because I've been along there enough times in the daylight. There's no trees on the edge of that field, there's just that fence. So, it goes, it's an actual field, then it goes to a fence. And there's trees behind the fence a bit, but not in front of it. So when I went down there like 2 days later in the daylight, and I was looking across there to try and work out what it was. So unless that was a person sort of stood there doing that in the light, I have no idea what it was, so that's creepy. But anyway, the guy on the bench is probably the guy we call Michael Myers, and if you don't know why we call him Michael Myers, if you think Halloween, it's because when Weapon Collector watched the video, he said that guy walks like Michael Myers, and he's right. He has a really weird walk. This guy, he sort of shuffles along. So I've seen that guy out there quite a few times, and I have no clue what he does. Now, obviously, it's a public footpath I go on for the most part, so anybody is entitled to walk down there. And I'm probably the least likely person to start saying somebody's weird because, they might decide to go on nighttime walks and stuff like that. It's totally fair enough that I do it. And to be honest, this guy isn't dressed in camo a lot of the time like I am. I'm the one with an infrared camera dressed in camouflage, so I look a lot more dodgy than he does probably. But what's interesting about this guy though is the amount of times I've seen him just doing weird stuff down there. So I've seen him a couple of times in broad daylight. He's an average looking bloke, about 6 foot probably, if that. Normally got trackies on and other stuff like that, so there's nothing too suspicious looking about the guy. But there's been a couple of times I've seen him in fields, when he's like not doing anything in the fields. There was one day I saw him just through on the swing gates that's designed so it always stays closed unless you open it, so animals can't get out, even though they haven't kept animals in that field for ages. He was once in there just a bit forward left of the gate, just stood there doing nothing. Another time I was walking in, I think it was the same field, but it might have been the next one along, and then I spotted him like randomly just sitting in the corner of the field, sort of leant up against a tree, and he didn't spot me. So what I ended up doing is, rather than walking past him, I thought this bloke's a bit weird, was when I got to another bit where you could walk through the hedgerow, I walked through the hedgerow into another path and walked home that way. But as far as I'm aware, I've seen that guy twice in the field like that. There was a guy, I think might have been him, like a week or so ago. I was walking along, and this is where we'd had loads of rain before it started getting hot, and when the fields are really flooded, you wouldn't want to walk in there, especially if you haven't got wellies on. And this guy walked into the field with a giant shopping bag and just starts walking across the field where it's really muddy and damp. So yeah, that's odd, because you wouldn't normally walk back that way, especially not during the summer. Well, I know it's sort of spring now and it's getting hot, but as I said, this is when the field was really flooded and waterlogged where we'd had all this rain. So all he's going to do is get really muddy. So one of the things I thought, is this guy doing something like with drugs or something, where he's maybe got drugs in a bag and he drops them off somewhere? Because when I've seen him around, I haven't seen like the same person always walking the other way in another direction. So I don't think he's meeting people there, unless it's, you know, different people every time. But is he dropping drugs off or something? You know, like he finds a certain place where he has like a stash and puts them there, and then people give him money at a different point and pick him up or whatever, and he gives them a location. I don't know. But, you know, it's one of those people where it just doesn't sit right with you. Now, I'm not going to show any footage of him in this video, because if he's totally innocent, you know, innocent until proven guilty, I don't want to be doing horrible rumours about people like that. But I'm sure if you watch some of my other footage, you'll know the guy I mean. So, yeah, very odd. So I've seen him at least 3 times, or at least twice for definite. The third time it might have been somebody else who looked like him, I wasn't totally sure. Always hanging around one of these fields, and I know he's not the farmer, because sometimes I've seen a farmer that does like do stuff in the field, and it's, you know, a typical farmer looking bloke. So yeah, very strange, because he often doesn't have, like I said, the right clothes on. He didn't have wellies when he was walking across that field. He was just in either like trainers or some sort of small boots or shoes, you know, ones that are going to get totally soaked and muddy if you walk across a totally waterlogged field. So who is he and what does he do? It's a bit of a mystery. If I have any interesting updates to this, because I go walking down that same area quite often because it's quite close to my house, you know, and you get away from most people by walking down there. So, yeah, we'll see if there's any updates to this. It's a bit of a mystery and quite intriguing for me. So if you've got any theories, let me know. I'd love to hear them. As I said, some creepy stuff, but you know, it's one of those guys who gives off a bit of a bad vibe, and he's always now and again hanging around the same sort of areas doing absolutely nothing. So let's see if we can solve this mystery.